Welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. I got a big piece of my heart again with me today. My firstborn daughter, Gracie Benton, is with us. Gracie?
Gracie Broughman.
Gracie Broughman. You always be Gracie Benton to me, as much as I love Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it wrong. Gracie Benton Broughman.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. You keep having all your kids, it just gets better and better each time.
That's what they all say. They all claim my favorite child, but I love you all the same. But baby, I'm so honored to have you here today.
Yes, I'm so glad to be
Aren't
here.
you? You're just beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll tell all the listeners a little insight on Gracie or whatever. I always said I know she was straight from heaven, because if you were to smell right in the middle of her forehead, it smells like pure heaven, even to this day. And she's just sweet, straight from heaven. And I love you, sweetheart. I want you to know that. I want you to know how proud I am of you, and you're special.
Thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
Proud of you too. This has been an honor to get to watch you do this show and finally get to be here and partake in it. I'm excited.
Yeah, so we kind of got a little piece of the whole family together, but had your brother on, and you're next in line. Your younger sister tried to steal my chair, learn a little bit about me, but we get to interview you. So,
Yes.
So anyway, so tell us about your growing up. Where'd you grow up at?
So growing up, we lived out in what I consider the country off of Long Avenue Extension. Just some great memories. And one thing about me is I loved my childhood and where I grew up and did not like change. And so a couple years back, whenever, y'all wanted to move to Park Avenue, I was like, no, because I just loved and had such a good childhood. Met one of my best friends living over there, Caitlin Haithcock. Played in the woods and just had a really good childhood riding the golf cart. And then just the best parents growing up at Langston. Y'all taught us to love Jesus, but not just to love him, but to really follow him, and just modeled that so well.
You were almost our Christmas baby. Your birthday's December the 26th. And just we knew you were a girl. We already had a boy. You were our first girl. So excited to have you. And just remember, like, we wanted you to have your own birthday or whatever, and your mom almost trying to go to labor on Christmas or whatever, going home. But the very next day you were born, and it was, gosh knows, you were just so pretty, so sweet. But anyway, the other story too, which you done said, we decided we were going to move, and we're packing up the house, all the kids or whatever. And I think your siblings kind of give you a hard time because you weren't helping. You weren't nothing about moving out of that house, were you? Tell us your thoughts there a little bit more.
So it was during the middle of COVID, and I remember Mom came home one day and she was like, Dad said that he's found a house out there in the city. And I was like, oh no, because I just loved where we lived. Not a big fan of change, like I said, and just so many good memories. And just knowing like that was where we had all of our childhood memories. Lawson had came home there. That's where we grew up playing and just enjoying life. And so for me, that was just a no-go. But now I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love living out in the city and just getting to enjoy downtown life. But for me, that was a really hard move.
Yeah.
And packing, you were like, Gracie, just go get some sushi, get out of the house. Yeah. Like, please just go get it together and come back and just be happy and help us all. So
yes, finally, because I think everybody's packing up, trying to get it done, and you're just in the corner almost crying and pouting, and you're like, finally we just said, we're going to send her to town,
Yes.
But I think the one thing we learned during that, and I hope you did, is that I always said this, home is where your family's at. You can make your home wherever you're at, and we made new memories where we're at.
Absolutely.
And life is full of change, isn't it?
It is.
Tell us about your school experience a little bit.
School. So I went to Kingston for elementary school. Enjoyed being a cool cat. Had a lot of great teachers. Cool cat, yeah. Had a lot of great teachers. Just enjoyed that. And one of the big parts about school for me was the spelling bees. And so from 5th grade all through 8th grade, I was in the spelling bee every single year.
Yeah.
We started out with the classroom spelling bee, and you would compete against a few people in your class. And so I won that. And then once I did that, then I would go on to the school spelling bee, which was school-wide.
What year was that, the first year you competed? Roughly, what grade?
5th grade.
5th grade was first year. Did you like spelling?
Oh, I love spelling. I've always been pretty good at it, so it kind of was a fun phase for me. And Keith Autry had done it too, so.
Yeah, that's right. Keith Autry did go pretty far, didn't he?
Yeah.
So when you went in 5th grade, did you go to the county level that year? I'm trying to remember.
I did go to the county level that year.
So tell us about our experience there that first year and what that looked like.
Yeah, so just super nervous because, I was so young. You're going up against 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. and, you know, just looking up to them, you're like, you know, you have multiple people who have been in it for multiple years, or, you know, just have a little bit more experience. But getting to do that was fun, and I think that it made me ready for the next year.
That's good. And where was that county spelling bee at?
That one was at Myrtle Beach. So the first couple years were held at Myrtle Beach, and then I think the last year was held at St. James.
Yeah. Yeah. So that first year, so you won the school spelling bee, and pretty much going to the district, they gave you a vast paper of just words you can be prepared to study for, right?
They did. So for the school, the first year, you know, we didn't have a spelling list, but going to the county, you know, you got the list of words to study. So study those. Me and Mom would go over them every single night, just, you know, spelling over and over and over again. You
pretty much learned that full list of words, you and your mom, right?
The whole, yeah, I would say probably 300-400 words. And to this day, like, we can still remember some, like, we'll hear them or see them in a show, and we'll be like, oh, that was one of our spelling bee words. So it's just some really cool memories.
But you did want to do that. That was something you were passionate about. Yes. So,
absolutely.
Good.
And I've always enjoyed school. It's never been, for some people, you know, they don't enjoy school, but I've always really enjoyed it and loved it, and especially, you know, just getting to use the gifts that God's given me through that has been a joy.
Yeah, I got you. So also too, I am not a speller. I can barely spell cat probably, but I watch it from a distance, and bragged on how great your mom is and how much she did well. But y'all spent a lot of time together doing that. But wasn't that a special time too, Gracie?
It was very special, and me and Mom were always close through that. But just getting to do that every day was, you know, just something like, at the end of the day, me and Mom got to come together, and Mom's just as good of a speller as me, and honestly, I think, you know, she passed that down. And so, you know, getting to have those memories, and then we would make a whole special day out of the actual spelling bee day. So we'd go to lunch.
Let's get there. I want to get there.
Okay, I keep jumping ahead.
Yeah, I want to get there. So, but that first year, so you prepared, you and Mom spent a lot of time together, and that means y'all would break it down, right?
Yes.
In days and stuff. Spent a lot of time together. You were so good at it. So we went and experienced it the first time, right? And then I think you've already said it, but you just didn't know what to expect, right? How far did you go your first year?
First year, I think I was within the last, like, 5-6 people. The years start to run together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was one of the finalists, but wasn't able to pull it all the way through. You know, there was some really smart people in there. So one of the finalists. But
I would dare say it really whet your appetite that you wanted to win it. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. You know, getting that close, even the first year as a 5th grader, it's like, wow, like, this is something that, you know, I'm pretty good at, but it's just something that's fun, you know, something enjoyable. And then you know, I got a little bit competitive and was like, yeah, I want to go back and win this thing. And so
6th grade,
really
right?
really set out to make that my mission. 6th grade, like, you know, let's go and let's win this. And it was all of Horry County and Georgetown County, so it was a pretty big deal, you know.
As a 6th grader.
As a 6th grader.
So the next year, won the school. At Conway Middle School, right?
Conway Middle School. So we had Miss Rathburn and Miss Ray, you know, they headed it up there. And it's kind of the same deal. Went to my classroom spelling bee, did that whole thing, and then was able to advance to the school. And it was actually, you know, a lot even more intense because you got people coming in from all of the elementary schools. So it's like you got the smartest, best spellers from all of those schools coming in. So didn't really know what to expect, but, you know, just fully relying on, like, you know, this was a passion and a gift that God had given me, and being able to go and do that. Won that, and then went to the Sun News, and so
that was at Myrtle Beach.
That was at Myrtle Beach again.
Okay, and you alluded to it earlier. So y'all would prepare, you and your mom. But tell me about spelling bee day, like y'all's routine, because it was a special day. Y'all made a whole day out of getting prepared, but also enjoy it. Tell us how that looked.
Well, you know, the nerves were there as soon as you wake up. So me and Mom made it a goal, you know, to have a special day, whether that was, I think chow was one of our main spots. We would go and eat there at the beach. But throughout the day, just practicing the spelling bee words little by little, just refreshing our memory. But we would go out and just enjoy and, you know, go and spend that day together and have those memories.
Having breakfast together.
Have breakfast together, lunch. Yeah, so kind of just wherever we went, we had those spelling bee words. But we made it a big celebration and fun day.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get emotional as I'm thinking about this, but I remember the night we were in Myrtle Beach Auditorium. You was a 6th grader. I remember the dress you wear, your beautiful curls on the stage. So tell us how that night unfolded, the night you won.
So it was basically started the same way as the first year. I go in, I'm like, okay, I'm here. We're just going to see where this goes. So we spelled all the words and then...
Spelled the whole list.
Spelled the whole list. So, we go round after round.
How many people are left at this point, roughly?
There was probably about 5 of us that were, repeat players. But the way that it works is, you go up, they give you your word, you spell it, and you get dinged if you're out. So each person that's out, it's like, I'm just one more person closer, to getting this.
Competition.
Very, very stiff. People are very into this. So, and then we get to about the last couple rounds, and there's the same 4 people. We're just getting all the words, and so they run out of the list, and then out of nowhere, I just hear a word that I know for sure I hadn't studied, and the nerves set in, and I was like, wow.
Because you're not on a list no more.
Not on a list no more. So these are words. This is completely from memory, and so I get another word, and I'm like, I don't know if this is, I got Pasquinade. That was the word that I ended up winning on.
So what was the word you won on?
Pasquinade. So it's Pasquinade, and I'll never forget that word. But I remember as soon as I spelled it right, I could just hear Mom in the back screaming, shouting, and we were like, we did it, because it was something that we had put so much time and so many memories into, and so for us it was really like a joint victory.
And if I remember right, the person before you did not spell theirs correct, so you had to come up and spell one correct to win, and you got the word. And I remember we're sitting on the road and sitting over there, and of course I couldn't even pronounce the word, let alone spell it, and Mom says, I think she got it right. She got it right. And you did, and you won. And then the joy. Tell me that second you knew you won, what that felt like.
It was just so much relief, but also just excitement, just to know that like what I had been, praying for and just like reaching towards was finally there, and getting to know that I got to go to the Scripps National Spelling Bee. That was just a surreal moment. It's one of those moments where you're just like, you can't even believe it's real. And then, you have all the reporters and everybody coming up, and it's just, as a 6th grader, just a memory I'll never forget. And then getting to just enjoy and just sharing that with Mom was just really cool.
Yeah. And as a family, you did get to go to the National Spelling Bee. There's not many kids can say that, Gracie, but tell us a little bit about the experience.
So kind of the way it works is I was the winner at the district level, so then I was able to advance on to Scripps, which, is one of those things that's like, is this real life? It's one of those things you watch growing up on TV. But it was so cool. You got people from literally all over the world, not even just our country there. And so it was just a very cool experience getting to spell on that stage, sit on that stage, and we kind of made a whole trip out of it. We stayed in Maryland. We were able to, take a ferry over to Virginia and just get to see a lot of history and eat at a lot of good restaurants. And so we made it a really fun trip as a family. But one thing that people really don't know about the Scripps National Spelling Bee is you also take a vocabulary test. And so that part of it was really just interesting but hard for me, because that was one thing that you couldn't study for. But I ended up getting both of my words right on stage, so that was cool. But yeah, I've been to the Scripps National Spelling Bee. It's still one of those things where it's just a very cool, but yet like, wow, that actually happened kind of experience. Okay,
good deal. So, in knowing, I got a little insight. I know some of your story, but you're in law school now. But you came home and told us that you had a visitor to school talking about his profession. Tell us about that day and who that was and what that was all about.
Yeah. So growing up, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had a lot of different things, running through my mind. And I remember 10th grade, I was in a leadership class with Miss Marcotte at Conway High School, and Mr. Jimmy Richardson came in and spoke to our class and was able to share, what his day-to-day work looked like as an attorney and a solicitor, and it just fascinated me. It grabbed my attention, getting to hear how, they help victims and victims' families and just were able to seek and serve justice, on people who have went through some of the hardest days and times of their life. And ever since then, it's really put a passion in me for the law. And, as high school goes, I was still young. So, but God continued to direct my path and, put that in my heart all the way through college. And so, yeah, I've really just been so excited to get to do this profession and able to go to law school. So it's been it's a surreal experience.
Good deal. And you cheered in high school. Tell me about that.
I did. I got to cheer in high school. So that was one thing that was really fun for me in Eden growing up. We always were able to cheer. And if you know any of my siblings, you know all of my siblings, but for all the listeners, they're all super athletic. And so we always joke that I got the brains and they got the athletics. But cheering was a really, really, just integral part of high school, getting to do basketball, football, competition cheer. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think there was one year Autry was playing and both you and your sister were cheering for him, right?
There was. So Autry was on the field. We were on the sidelines. We never didn't know if we were going to get to do that. So that was a very, very cool experience, getting to do that all together.
Good deal. And you pretty much said it. So tell me your thoughts of school. Was school hard for you through high school or just...
It depended on the class. I was not a math person, definitely more English and social studies, but, it was all in my work ethic and what I was able to put into it. It came natural. There was some points where, I didn't give it my best, but, school has always been one of my God-given talents. So Good. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with the Lord, and when you want to talk about that? Yeah. So got saved early on, grew up at Langston. Y'all were great Christian role models. And so I wasn't able just to hear it, but I was able to see it lived out. And so, I remember my best friend, Charlie Holmes, at the time, he gave his life to Christ. And I came home and I, was just inquiring about it with you and Mom. And y'all sat down and explained it to me. I felt the tug on my heart to give my life to the Lord, and He's just been so faithful. I've been, through a lot of different changes in the past year, especially, and just being able to depend on Him in a whole new way has been really special, and see how, just His faithfulness and His hand has been in my life through so many different things.
Yeah, and we talk about here a lot. Relationship with the Lord is not church. It's a personal thing. And we say it here a lot too. I'm not a perfect man. You lived with me and Mom, our ups and downs, our good days, our bad days, but we got Christ there for us. And the thing about it is, it's a free gift, isn't it, Gracie?
Yes.
Salvation's free, and all you got to do is accept it. And I think that's our beginning point. We grow in our relationship, and I think as I get to watch your life and your life now, that we see that Christ is there for us on our roughest days, isn't He?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And He just is so good, so faithful. Yeah.
So good. Awesome. Okay, so graduating high school, what was your plan?
So my plan was, Coastal was nowhere on my radar. My plan was, let's go away to college. And so, I think that was just so ingrained in my brain just because that's what most people do. So I looked around at Clemson, a little bit at Anderson, and because, I really desired to still live for the Lord in college and just didn't care anything about, going and doing what a lot of times college students or, the typical experience is, I chose and decided on Anderson and really felt like that was where the Lord was leading me at the time. And grateful for that season. Met one of my best friends there, Gracie Broughman, and her family. But was an English major, still wanted to go to law school. And so that was kind of my path was, what can I do to get into the law? Was an English major for one day, and that's a funny story. I sat down in a classroom and they said, write a story about a dragon. And I was like, this is not the kind of English that I'm used to or I was expecting. And so went to my counselor there and changed to become an education major. And so
how long did it take that to happen? Remind me.
That took one day.
One day.
Yeah,
okay.
I knew. I was like, this is not what I was thinking. And so wasn't really sure where to go from there. So switched over to elementary education. And actually was in that for a whole year. But still, I was like, I just do not want to be a teacher. This is not my passion. This is not my calling. And just still had such a strong desire to be an attorney, and just really felt like, that was my passion and my calling. So became a communications major despite all my siblings oftentimes.
Yeah, at Coastal, right?
At Coastal, yes.
Right, so you finished one semester at Anderson, right?
Yes. So I was at Anderson for a semester, missed home, and just wanted to become a Chanticleer. And came home to Coastal, was a communications major, and minored in pre-law. And so, yeah.
And one thing I think you said, Gracie, I think you experienced what many young people do, is that we just don't all have it figured out. You change schools, you change majors, maybe even thought you were going another profession, and I think it's okay. Would you tell somebody that's trying to figure it out is to don't worry about it, you can get to where you need to be?
Absolutely. If I would give one piece of advice to anybody, about, where you're going in the future, it's don't put any, there's already so much pressure from the world. God's got it. He's one step in front of the next, trust him with each day. And even if it's not what you, thought or planned at first, there's going to be so much good. Yeah. And looking back, that's what I see. And even, I don't regret Anderson at all. It was such an integral time.
Met one of your best friends.
Met one of my best friends. And yeah. So, but yeah, there's so much pressure out there, but we're so young, and there's a whole life and world ahead of us, and all of it shaping and leading us where we're supposed to be.
Amen. So did you enjoy Coastal?
I love Coastal. Big Chanticleer fan. There's just so much good at Coastal. They grow up here, you're like, oh, I don't really want to go to Coastal. It's the hometown school. But there's so many great professors and just a lot of great programs out there, and just really grateful for how it shaped me and just taught me so much about kind of the world that I want to go into. It made me a better writer, made me a better communicator, speaker, and just really, really, really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah. And I want to jump back. I don't know why this question keeps coming to my mind, but is there some teachers along the way, or a teacher like through your school? Is there somebody that sticks out to you that just made a difference in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a lot of great teachers. I would say there's two, though. I had Miss Penniger in middle school. She was just a gem. Every day you came into her classroom, you didn't feel like you were going in there to learn. You felt like it was just a home away from home. And she did that through so many ways, but one word I would use to describe it is just her classroom felt warm and inviting. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't just to me, it was to any student, and that's such an important role for a teacher, because you have so many students coming from so many different walks of life. And so she was just amazing. And then Miss Porter also, which was also one of my cheer coaches. But she just poured so much love into me. And even going through, different things in high school, she, always told me the truth, poured in, encouraged me, poured into me. And so had a lot of great teachers that, I'm just so thankful for, and that shaped me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and who was your favorite law professor? He's our neighbor, tell him, speak about him.
Yes, Mr. Hendrick too. He was amazing at Coastal, and early on, I told him my interest about going into the law, and he taught business law at Coastal. But me and him, he was just so kind, and we actually lived near him, and so he always, treated all of his students amazing. But he was just so gracious and was helping me, to kind of guide and, know how to get to law school and the path that I should take. So,
yeah. And just sharing some of the stories you did. I mean, he was a magistrate judge in Conway, so he had so many life stories to share too, right?
Yes, that was the coolest part too, getting to hear, about how he went to South Carolina for law school and then was able to be a magistrate judge and work in the firms here in Conway, and just had a lot of impact in the community. And so he knew a lot of different lawyers and judges and stuff. And so his everyday stories about different cases that he would share, those were really cool to get to hear.
That's great. Our time's going quickly. So graduated Coastal, but yes, you also interned during the summers with the solicitor's office. Did that just further your passion to want to be there?
Absolutely. So I was fortunate to get to work at the solicitor's office for almost a year, 2 years now, with the 15th Circuit. And so getting to even sit in on a trial, I think that was one of my favorite parts. And just the courtroom just intrigues me so much, getting to see the case from start to finish, and how the attorneys just pour so much time and energy into it.
Tell me about Taylor.
So we have been married just came up on a year, and he is just the answer to all of my prayers. He's my first boyfriend, and just so blessed to be able to marry him. We met at church at Langston at the Fall Fest. I was wearing a Scooby-Doo costume, and we both have different versions of the story about who had the interest first, but my version is that it was him. But just an amazing husband, and has supported me through so much. He's the cook of our home. He is the supporter of our home, the head of our home, and just really thankful that the Lord blessed me with a husband that is just so loving.
Yeah, well, I'm going to brag on your husband right now if you'll let me. You know, no one's ever good enough for your daughter. I'm sorry. So you think. And just really, boy, I want to let my baby girl go. But Taylor is amazing. He loves the Lord. He has served our country so bravely overseas. He's one of the hardest working young men that I know. And he's so diligent. You know, I love how laser focused Taylor is, but yet so soft and tender he is with you. And, you know, let me say this, I don't always get it right, Gracie, and I made mistakes, but you know what? Taylor has been a blessing to you and to our family, and I couldn't think of anybody I'd want you to be married to than Taylor. And I love him. He's special. And
Thank you.
Even in this season, so tell us what season of life you're in. You just finished 1L Law School at Charleston Law. Tell us about first year of law school.
Yes. So you go in, you know it's going to be difficult, but it has truly been such an experience. So really, you know, getting adjusted to that from undergrad was a tough transition, but I've just really enjoyed my time at Charleston. Had a lot of amazing professors, gotten to meet some really amazing people, and just get to know so much more about the law. You know, I went in knowing I wanted to do criminal law, but getting to learn about different facets like torts and contracts and property, it gives you an appreciation for kind of everything that's out there and just the legal world in general. But Charleston has been a great place to begin this law school journey and just, you know, my career in the law. And so getting to hear so many different cases and stories, you know, you read a lot in the first year and write a lot, but I've enjoyed getting to be academically really challenged.
Yep, and Taylor was blessed to have a job at MUSC. Yes,
Taylor is at MUSC. He is in the cardiac ICU there, and so that has been a cool transition for him. And you know, his goal one day is to become a nurse anesthetist, and so proud of him. But yes, it has been a sweet season getting to, you know, build our, you know, marriage there and just enjoy time, you know, in Charleston together.
Good deal. And this summer you've got an internship with?
Yes, this summer I will be with the Ninth Circuit down in Charleston County. So just getting to really see that prosecution side even more. So I'm excited to get to jump in there and get some more experience. So
Good.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Well, we're out of time, so I just want to tell you one more time, I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
And you're so beautiful, and I love you.
I love you too. Proud of you.
Folks, thank you for joining us today. You got a little more piece of my heart today with Gracie. Whatever you're doing in life, make sure you pursue it, and just know that God's building your story along the way. Please join us next time.